Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 1 to a what if that I made a while ago, but I'm remaking it now. What if Naruto was a vampire? Just because I think I can do it better, because I didn't really have that good of a explanation on Naruto's abilities in the story. I just didn't think it was that good, so I'm just going to be remaking it, and yeah, with that being said, no like goal or anything like that, but I wouldn't mind, subscribe, do the things that everybody says, and with that being said, let's just jump right into the what if itself. So, starting off with, how is Naruto going to become a vampire? Well, more specifically, we're going to say he's a half vampire. We'll just say Minato was a vampire, that's why he was so stupidly strong. Kushina was still a human, they do the hanky-panky, Naruto pops out. Ninetales, all that kind of stuff still happens normally, and Naruto's first years would also go by pretty normally, because I don't think Naruto's vampire abilities would really do anything when he's 3 years old, because, who really cares? So, Naruto's first few years of life would, go by pretty normal, but when Naruto would, hit somebody, or literally anything of that sort, everybody would immediately notice the difference between themselves and Naruto, because Naruto has an, pretty much immense, physical strength, speed, stamina, more than literally anybody else in the village other than, Jonin and Chunin and stuff like that, and Naruto is, 5 or 6 years old at this point. Everybody's like, hey, what the hell is that? But also, whenever Naruto, hits somebody, or he has a life drain ability basically that heals them or heals him and weakens them, and Naruto notices this obviously. I don't really know why he wouldn't be able to. Naruto also has pretty much wings that he can fly around with, because Naruto's cool like that, and he can also make pretty much vampire thralls by biting people. So obviously I feel like that kind of tells you where the story is gonna go in terms of what Naruto's plan is going to be. So with that little bit of an explanation out of the way, let's get into the first part of Naruto's life that would actually have a lot of change in it, and that is going to be pretty much when Naruto joins the academy. Not at the end. When Naruto first joins it, he stays at the top of his class throughout the entire years to come when he's going through the academy. He's a lot physically stronger, and Naruto's actually a lot smarter in this what if. Just in terms of normal intelligence, not in terms of battle smarts. He's probably around this, a little bit smarter in that, but he's more book smart than anything else, so he actually graduates at the complete top of his class, along with Naruto actually doing something else over the years while he was, doing that. Naruto is a vampire, and obviously he would maybe accidentally bite somebody sometime. When he does bite them, they turn into a vampire a few days later, and Naruto realizes that he pretty much can just have them do what he wants. And Naruto realizes this, and they also gained that, enhanced physical abilities and, all that kind of stuff that Naruto had. Naruto's oh, interesting. Obviously, not to the extent, because Naruto was the original, but, it's still there. So Naruto would be doing this throughout, the academy days. Whenever he goes, to hang out with one of his friends, if he hasn't bitten them before, he'll, do it then. And eventually, Naruto would have, literally most of, the villagers, because of the fact that, when he went to his friend's house, he bit them, he bit their parents, anybody who was, around, and that kind of adds up over time, over 4 years, I don't remember, it was 2 or 4 years that Naruto was in the academy. That adds up a lot over time, so Naruto would probably have half of the village under his control at this point, and he's 10 when he's graduating, he's 12 when he's graduating. So Naruto would then, get placed on the same teams. I don't see a reason why Naruto would have been able to bite the higher ups. He's not gonna bite Hiruzen or Kakashi, Might Guy, people like that. Just random people villagers or Genin and really low ranking and stuff like that. But they're still there, Naruto still has them. So Naruto would still get placed on the same team as in the original canon, just to, keep it simple. Plus, it doesn't really matter because Naruto's plans don't really have that much to do with the actual ninja world at this point. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So Naruto joins, the same team as in the original canon. They all make their way up to the roof after they wait a few hours for Kakashi to get there, and they do their introductions. Now, obviously, Naruto is not just going to, tell everybody that, or not everybody, because he already has Sasuke and Sakura under his control, but not going to tell Kakashi that his plan is pretty much just, world domination. So he's not really going to say that. That'd be a little bit rude of him to do. So he decides that he's just going to keep it a little bit simple and just say he wants to be really strong and maybe lead the world someday, or at least try to. Kakashi's like, what do you mean lead the world? You mean lead the village? Naruto's like, no. I don't mean that. I mean, yeah, I do want to lead the village, but that's not my final goal. And Kakashi takes a note of this and is like, okay, that's interesting. I'm definitely going to have to learn a little bit more about that and what that might mean for my future, but for now, let's just ignore it. And Sasuke's and Sakura's would stay the same just because Naruto basically told them, doing whatever you do in your normal everyday life, but also, here, do this and do this and, do that. Just random, things that Naruto doesn't really want to do himself. It just makes them do. Naruto didn't do, a single day of schoolwork while he was in the academy, other than, maybe for, the first couple months before he realized he had the ability. And then he just had everybody else do stuff for him, while Naruto did some, training and stuff like that, just to keep himself nice and strong. So Naruto would be doing this physical training all throughout the academy too, and like I said, he's a lot smarter and stuff like that, and he also has stuff like shadow clones, which helped him a lot when getting vampire thralls and those kind of different things. So after everybody's introductions, Kakashi tells him to meet them in this big field the next day for their bell test, but doesn't explain what it is and tells them not to eat because they're gonna throw up if they do. They all listen, to Kakashi because, he's their sensei. Why would he lie about something like that? There's no reason to. So none of them eat. They show up in the next morning. They wait another few hours. They're all getting hungry by this point, and Kakashi does show up and explains to them what the bell test is and what they're going to be doing. 2 bells, there's 3 people. Naruto would pretty much realize immediately what the point of the bell test was, but he wanted to try to make Kakashi become a thrall. So he goes and tries to solo Kakashi. Now, he would honestly be able to do it at this point. With shadow clones, the massive amount of chakra Naruto has from Kushina, the fact that he's a vampire so he would have lifesteal, he would easily be able to outspeed, outstamina, and outpower Kakashi, in essence defeating him, and when he does knock him out, which would be pretty easily, maybe a punch or two, and Kakashi wouldn't really be able to react, he would bite him, and Kakashi would go, unconscious, wake up a few days later, and he would be one of Naruto's vampire little thrall dudes. So Naruto would tell Kakashi, alright, we're just gonna pretend like it never happened, and you're gonna still kind of be my sensei, and we're just gonna, pretend that you're not a vampire now. Kakashi's like, alright. They do all their D rank missions, and eventually they get to the point where they're about to go on their C rank mission, and Naruto decides that he doesn't really care about it that much, so he's just gonna send a shadow clone on that mission while he actually remains in the village to deal with some more urgent business. So we'll discuss what both versions, I guess you could say, of Naruto are going to be doing. So Naruto, that is actually going to be staying back in the village. Nobody knows Naruto is there, therefore he'll be able to make stuff like shadow clones, and then he'd be able to use the transformation jutsu, and he'd literally just be able to walk around and bite people while framing others for doing it, pretty much. So nobody would even know that Naruto is doing it, and he would be able to bite most people in the village and just pretty much gain control over them and be able to do whatever he wants. In the time that the Naruto clone of himself defeated the Chunin brothers really easily, also defeated Zabuza really easily, because if he could defeat Kakashi really easily, he'd be able to defeat him really easily, and everything like that just goes by really smoothly. They come back literal days earlier than before, because Kakashi never had to use the Sharingan, and it was done so much quicker, and they just return back to the village, which is already mostly under Naruto's control, except for pretty much Hiruzen, Danzo, some root members and stuff like that. Because Naruto was being careful. He wants to make sure that nobody's like watching him do it. Even if he is disguised, he doesn't want to get caught. Especially if it is Naruto's like actual body and not a shadow clone. You can't just like poof it, you know? So Naruto, you know, would go around getting many different people until eventually they would, you know, return, and Naruto would just continue doing that. Eventually he'd get people like the third Hokage, stuff like that. Eventually the Chunin exams would come around, and okay. Like, I'm sorry for rushing through this, but like, it doesn't really get that like interesting or difficult for Naruto to do any of this until probably like the Pain arc is when Naruto's gonna have his first like actual maybe kind of challenge, but even then that'll probably be pretty easy and Obito is gonna be his big issue, but we will see nonetheless, or you will. I already know because I'm smart, because you know I made the story, but whatever. So, the Chunin exams would eventually come around, like I just said, but with Naruto being so, you know, much more intelligent than he was in the original canon, he easily passes the first, you know, like, written part of the test. They get their bells, and even if Orochimaru approaches them, Naruto could probably just kill him if he really wanted to, or make him a thrall, and we'll say that's what happens. Naruto knocks Orochimaru out, makes Orochimaru into a thrall, and just kind of like hides him somewhere for when he wakes up in a few days, pretty much. Or not in a few days, but you know, when that time comes by. And since Naruto is like half human and half vampire, his weakness to like sunshine and, you know, silver and all that kind of stuff would be like, it's still there, but it's reduced. That's why Naruto's just able to like walk around and do stuff without getting weakened or anything like that. So they would then, you know, get all of the stuff that they need to do. They get the scrolls, and then the, you know, actual, like, finals of the Chunin exams would happen, because Naruto already defeated fucking Kiba, let's be honest here. We don't even need to discuss that. Naruto easily shits on Neji, and Sasuke would have a similar fight with Gaara before Naruto jumps in, and what do you expect? Naruto just defeats Gaara. He doesn't like kill him, and then he makes him one of his thralls. Yay, big thing there. Nobody was expecting that. So anyway, Naruto would pretty much have at least one person from like almost all of the villages at this point, just because of where Naruto has been and how long he's been doing this. So now that the Chunin exams is over, Sasuke would never leave with Orochimaru. That ain't happening because, you know, why would it? Like, name one reason why it should. Naruto might go with Orochimaru just to, like, do some experiments and see what's going on, but not all too much. But that is where I'm going to be leaving part 1 off. Part 2 will be pretty much all of Shippuden, and I highly doubt I'll ever cover Boruto, because Boruto, like, at least in my opinion, is just not that good. Like, I watched the first couple episodes, but I just couldn't really get interested in it, just because, like, the first couple episodes are what, like, gets you into an anime in the first place, so, like, it's not okay if like the last couple episodes are good when everything else sucks. So yeah.